And we are live. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, I'm Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Heidi.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Joyce. Welcome to the Sales View. This morning's topic is about changing the culture of sales.
I want to educate the masses on the great life that I've had in sales and want you to understand how you can get into sales as well.
My mission is really to help individuals, sales professionals, elevate their game and take it to the next level.
I am all in 100% because we need to change the pace of sales.
To show people how they can change how they sell without changing who they are.
What actions do we take to actually see different outcomes? That is the question.
Welcome to
Woo!
Good morning. Welcome to the Sales View. How are you guys?
Doing
Doing
great.
good.
Doing great. Great to see everyone.
Yeah.
It's great to see everyone. Boy, Larry's had his first day back to school.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, Larry.
What are you
was
gonna
that
do
like?
with all that quiet time?
I'm still drying my eyes. It's hard to believe. My baby girl is second grade. My big boy is a sixth grader. It really makes you realize what's special in life. And Joyce, I know you're with family. You got the little nieces in San Diego.
I am. We are having such a good time. The little one was so pooped yesterday. She probably fell asleep about 7:30, I think it was, about 7:30 last night. I was creeping around the room, right? Thinking this morning, oh, I don't want to wake up Kennedy. I don't want to wake up Kennedy. She did not wake up.
You wore her out.
Or we did the safari yesterday, and then she insists on getting in the pool, and then we walked to dinner and walked back, and that's it. She's done. Stick a pin in her. She's done.
I also have my son in from Washington, D.C. this
Awesome.
weekend. So it must be a family weekend thing going on.
Mhm.
I'm so excited to see him. I know, it's awesome. He just moved there with his girlfriend, so it's nice to have him
Awesome.
home.
And we're heading to visit some grandparents this weekend too.
Woo!
So yeah, who we haven't seen in a year. So
Aw, that's
Because
really
of-
nice.
excited. Yeah.
But hey, I'm happy everyone is having this family time and our moments and things. And, our audience out there, I know you guys are going through the exact same things, wrapping up summer vacations. I had a friend, Natalie, in Canada. She went to see her parents for the first time in 18 months. And, Larry got the quiet house. And then, Heidi got one coming back home to the bear. So, hey, it's all good. So our topic today is about changing the sales culture. Man, I have an article that I started responding to actually on LinkedIn. I hadn't just yet, you guys, but it was that one I mentioned before about, I keep it because I want to make sure I respond to it. The sales jobs and how they're a hard sell right now, right? And how it's really becoming more and more difficult in this COVID co-work space at home where people are getting more relaxed and more grounded, right? People are meditating more, doing a little bit more yoga. I had dinner with, just a late night with a cousin that lives here in San Diego, and she said the same thing. And so they're saying because of these reasons, sales is becoming a harder job to sell, that people just don't want to get back into the hustle and bustle of what they think that the hustle and bustle is. And, I guess it was hustle and bustle for me. I'll let you guys say about your experience, but I loved it. I love it. I love it. And I just think everyone should love it. And I recommend it as a profession. And so, we want to talk to you guys today about the culture of that and how, what can we do to change the culture? Does the culture need to change, Larry? I mean, you're that firehouse guy. Do we need to change that?
I think there's a lot of places that do. And our conversation to start off, we're talking about family. We're talking about spending quality time. We're
Yes.
talking about priorities. And sometimes, Joyce, you're absolutely right. Sales can be a hustle and grind, and it's not for everybody, but it is an excellent opportunity for anybody to really create generational, really set up their family for just generations from an earnings perspective. Now, from a time management perspective, that's where it can get a little bit tricky. But I encourage folks, you've got to own your own business within the company. I don't care what company. You can work for Acme Company. You've got to really set the parameters of how your business is going to operate from underneath it. And sometimes the company culture it's not conducive to really having that. But I'd love to hear what Heidi and what Lindsay have to say.
Yeah, I'll share and then turn it over to Lindsay. But it's interesting. I love this topic because so about 2 weeks ago, I traveled for the first time for business in 18 months. And I got to tell you, the travel part of it was a little grueling. I realized that I was out of shape. I was out of travel shape. I was like dragging through the airport, schlepping my luggage. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die. But once I got to the site, just getting, those real hugs and being able to interact. And I realized, yeah, this is why I do this, right? Like I was able to be with my client, having that one-on-one time with my client, with my team was so important. And I was just like, I love this. Like sales is the best job in the world, right? So what I'm trying to do right now, and I'd love your perspective on it, is really figuring out what the balance is. Like, when do I really need to be on the road? How do I prioritize, having to do the travel and spend the money and the time for the travel versus, what can I just do virtually now, right? And be equally as effective. So for me, that's sort of the change in culture. Because before, I'm going to tell you, I would fly to the Philippines for a 3-hour meeting. I'm not so sure I'm going to be doing that anymore. Nah.
Yeah. Heidi, you talk about that prioritizing. For me, I've always done, and Lindsay, you tell me how you handle it. I've always wanted to do the open and the close in person, right? And I was fortunate enough though, where I had a lot of customers. When you're in a vertical market like oil and gas, a lot of people tend to have their businesses in those same areas, right? But so I could schedule other meetings, and I can make a 2-day trip out of it and meet, with a lot of people, and then also meet with, you always want to meet with your executive team, and then you want to meet with your procurement team, and then you want to also shake some hands with the ground level guys who are doing the work. But for me, it's the open and the close. Everything in between, we could have virtual Zooms, what have you, but the open and build that relationship and say, hey, how do we do this together? How do we, what is it you really need from me? And how can I do the best job for you? And then to go close it, I always want to be in person. What do you think, Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good kind of rule of thumb. I'm like you, Heidi. I used to have the go bag ready, right? Like I'd have like my carry-on piece of luggage with all of my toiletries in mini size, ready to go. And now we're packing to go somewhere this weekend, and I'm like, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? I don't know. Somehow over the last 18 months, it has dissipated into that. So I feel you. So it's like, okay, I'm looking forward to going back to this, but there are some things that it's like, ooh, I don't know. I could spend some more time at home for sure. And I think what the last 18 months has proven to me too is that it is possible to build relationships online as well too. I don't think we can discount that. I mean, all of you, I've never met you in person, right?
That's true.
And so I think it takes a bit more intentional effort to build those type of relationships, but I think it's possible. So I like Joyce's rule, like the open and the close and the in-betweens, you can kind of feather in more of the Zoom meetings and just be more intentional about reaching out and building a relationship.
And that culture one, I want to share with our audience that if they're on the fence about sales, that, sales does allow us to do just what I'm doing right now, right? It does allow me to be in San Diego with my nieces and spend that time. And I think, maybe every sales culture isn't like this, but I've always been able to say at my company, hey, I'm going to take this time off. And I'm going to check my email. That's who I am. But I'm not going to respond to you during these days because I'm taking this time off my family. And the great thing is, it is also when when the earnings that you have in sales allow you to do it as well, right? And so you have to kind of keep it, to me, all in perspective, because what I earn in sales allow me to, take my nieces on vacation every year, right? I am the 18-year-old that's up there now. She's going off to college in a few weeks. I took her to visit. I took her to Northern California to visit Stanford and Berkeley. I took her to her college visit at Pepperdine University, right? We were going to go to NYU last year, but COVID didn't allow us. But she did apply to NYU and UT and got accepted to both, but she's going to go to UT. So sales, and to me, and what I've earned in sales, the flexibility that I have in sales allows me to do those things. And that's what it's all about for me.
That it is. And Joyce, you got great points. One thing I'd like to call out is really around the internal culture. And I know we talked about it a few weeks back in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The key for me is really that inclusivity. And there was just a report that came out that shared that people of color do not want to go back into the office. They do not feel comfortable because of microaggressions, because of the culture, just the way that things operated in the office. Being home has allowed for people not to be touching your hair, people not to be passive aggressive with their comments, and just that feeling. And there was a study that showed there's a sizable percentage of folks that said, if I have to go back in the office, I'm out of here. So it's really interesting. I would love to get y'all's thoughts because I've been noodling on this. Where does that really put us from a sales industry perspective?
Yeah, when you talk about that, I posted a Mendel Hart's article. It was Black Women's Equal Pay Day, right? And it actually talked about some of those things as well, about just being that space and what it takes for us to earn more money, and not only that, but feeling inclusive when you're in that space, right? And how do we make those changes? So when we talk about changing the culture, so when you talk about people of color not wanting to go back to the office for that reason, I mean, you got to I'm gonna be honest here. I love corporate for that reason. Loved it for many reasons. Wanted to be there, but it came a time, and I probably overstated. It came a time when, the corporate Karens, as we refer to it, that's out now. It just became too much, right? And so even now in my in this space, I'm still experiencing some of that. But in this space, it's a little different because I work for myself. And so I can fire people as customers. I can fire people as friends, right? Is what I'm realizing. And I have more where I can push back, right? And so I know that that's a concern for people. It's unfortunate. I don't see that going away. I don't, maybe touching our hair and things like that, but those microaggressions and things, I'm hearing from people that are still in corporate that is still happening even in the virtual space.
Mm-hmm. I think, one of the things, especially with the inclusion and diversity, is that, and you guys are hitting on it, it's having an inclusive culture, and that's so much less tangible than a diversity metric, right? So people get so focused on the metric, on the number, but what they need to do is they need to start building some awareness around these things like microaggressions and emotional tax and all these other things that people are carrying on their shoulders, that if you're not, you have no idea that it's going on. So I think, in order to change cultures, in order to change, things like being more inclusive, some of the keys that I've been reading about are engaging non-marginalized groups. So finding a way to get people to care about this stuff. And a lot of what I've been seeing is asking them to think about their own sense of fairness. Like, would this be fair? If you were in this situation, how would you feel? Is this fair to you? And yeah, and that can kind of change people's perspective, right? Help them kind of take a different perspective. One of the things. Oh, Heidi, you look like you got something to say.
Oh no, I do, but finish up your thought.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. So I've been seeing a lot of the posts and the Equal Pay Day, and I'm so happy to see the voices out there and really bringing this topic to the forefront, because it is really important. But one of the things, and I'd love your perspective on it, that I really love about sales is you sort of own your own financial success, right? Your financial success is directly correlated to what you sell or how much you sell. Or so do you find the same discrepancies or disparities in pay in a sales job, and maybe you do in base salaries? I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, it's bonus and commission based, right? And you sort of control your destiny. So maybe there's that. Maybe that's where the disparity still is. But I do love the fact that in sales, you kind of get to have a bit more control over your financial destiny.
Real quick, Heidi, you're absolutely right in terms of having more control on the lever of the variable, the commission. But on the base, I just had this conversation 3 weeks ago in Atlanta. A young lady who's now a sales trainer shared with me in her last position, she found out that she was making half of what the other sales leaders and managers were making. And that just made me shake my head. And Lindsay, I love what you said in terms of asking the question, would this be fair if that was me? And so many times people want to, they want to sugarcoat it. They want to find, oh, well, we hired them external. Survey says, nerd, that's wrong. Like, I don't care how you flip it. That is just wrong.
Yeah,
I agree. And can I just say one more thing? When I left a company 2 years ago, and then for personal reasons decided to come back, and found out when I came back that I was actually being paid $10,000 less a year than my male counterparts.
Wow.
And I had a much higher quota. And so when I came back to the company, my boss is like, is there a reason for this? Like, he was just like a little bit baffled.
Yeah.
So it's also a women problem, right?
Yes.
As well,
Yeah.
right? And he corrected that. When I came back, he actually gave me an increase in the base, and
which is the right thing to do, but it's too late. I mean, $10,000
already.
That adds up over time, and to see it systemically, it's not right, and something's got to change. And I know, Lindsay, you're in a position where you're making changes within your org, but it really requires all of us, the non-marginalized groups, the folks that are in power, the folks that have seats at the table. They've got to put their foot down and say, enough is enough. We're not going to do this anymore, and it's got to happen right now. We can't be waiting any more years for this to change right now.
What's that TV show, that one thing? And I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Well, and Heidi, you mentioned that part about the sales goal being higher, right? And I've experienced that myself, right? So not only, and you say 10,000. I mean, I remember one time a disgruntled admin left the company, and she sent out the spreadsheet with everyone's salaries on it, right? Yep. And so it might have been 10,000 for a white female, but for me it was 30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the goal, my goal was higher. So when I have a higher goal, it's going to take more for me to get to that point to make that money, those earnings, right? And especially if you're in a company where I think the last comp plan, you don't get paid unless you're at 100%. So if you sold 5 million, but your goal was 5 million and one, you didn't get a comp. a bonus for that. So there is, there's some, definitely some things that, and ways that even when the playing field might be a little what we consider equal, we don't really know if it is, then there's other ways to manipulate it. And I think that, again, I have to go back to the CEOs of the company. I have to go back to those people at the top levels to really inspect what they expect for their company. You got your PR team sending out requests or sending out information notification to get you as the best place in the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
But have you as the CEO, Undercover Boss, again, one of my favorite shows, have you as the CEO gotten your butt out the seat in your office and actually gone into the field and rode with people and really allowed them to be and say, and before you go, don't just lean it on the people in the field to tell you, right? They don't want to feel like I got the CEO ear and then all I have to do is talk about negative stuff. I want to talk about positive things and I'm with my CEO, right? As a CEO, as a C level, inspect that stuff yourself before you go into a territory and field. You have the right to pull salaries. You have the right to pull goals and look and see what they are, right? And I'm not saying you may have a capacity to do it for everyone. I mean, you have a company of 50,000 people, but the people that you, just like as salespeople, we do our homework to get to know the people that we're going to see. As a CEO, do your homework and know the people you're going to see in the field and how your company is treating them and where they line up.
Yeah. So I wanted to build on that a little bit too, because I think it is important, top down, like the CEO should know what's going on in their company and be aware. And they do have an outweighted power in terms of changing things. But I'm going to tell you, from my perspective, culture is changed in the everyday interactions that we have with each other. It's kind of what Larry said before. So here's the thing, like if you are a manager and you have access to your team's salary and you're not doing the comparison, well, shame on you, So as much as there's accountability up top, everybody has accountability for culture and everybody should be looking to make sure, is this fair? Doing that kind of test. Even those of us who are in individual jobs, like we can change the culture too. I mean, something that I hear a lot in sales is like the kind of bro culture, right? Like we talk about winning and being competitive and hunting whales and things like that. Like that's us. Like we can change that. We can change how we talk about things. So I want to put that out there too, because I think in a lot of discussions that I end up having, culture gets very macro quick. Like it gets very, it's the top's problem, and it is, but it's everybody's problem.
It is. It's everyone's problem. I agree. And, I can remember, leaders and different people coming into a city where I was the leader, and they would say, Joyce, it's just a different culture here, right? Because I owned it and I took responsibility for how my team felt about the job, right? And I owned that responsibility of making sure everyone felt like that everyone felt like they were part of the team, and that it was a sisterhood and a brotherhood, right? Like I used to tell them, you're siblings, as far as I'm concerned. Right? You're siblings. Let's do this.
I saw, so just talking about quotas, getting back to that, I saw a really interesting article that I actually posted this week talking about the future of sales and sales culture. And was actually talking about in 2025, how companies are going to be doing away with sales quotas as a way to, sort of equalize. And this one Fortune 50 company actually said that they tested it and that they actually saw an increase in revenue of about $1 million a month when they just completely eliminated the sales quota environment, because it became a limiting belief that everyone's just managing to their quota versus doing really what's right for the business. So that to me was a little mind-boggling, because the idea of getting rid of the sales quota in a sales job is like, whoa. What do you think about that?
Now that's a change in culture.
So
I'm a change in culture.
So I'm going to tell you something. So, I mean, I had targets, I had goals in my sales role, but I was only paid base. I wasn't paid commission. And everybody, when they hear that, they go, what the heck? How did you? you know, like were you in control of your own future? And I mean, the reason that it was done that way was twofold. Number one, a lot of the territories were so different across the country that it was like, you didn't want to give somebody one territory that, you know, they had the opportunity to make a bunch of sales in, and have somebody else in a territory where they're, you know, they're maxed out, they're saturated, they're just there to account manage. But the other thing that it drove working together as a team. Like if you needed support on something, you could call somebody in without worry that they're going to steal your account and steal your commission. And it also drove doing what was best for the customer. Because if you're not reliant on them to buy from you in the immediate near term, you automatically start thinking, okay, like what's best for them now so that they can trust me in the long term. So I believe it, Heidi. Like I see it. I think that's the way that we're going. And I think in this world of customer experience and customer focus, it's the right way to go. I mean, you need a higher base, like, to do that, by the way.
Yeah.
but that's, I mean, I've seen the results too. I've seen it.
Why 2025?
I don't know. That's just what it said. That was the date that they used. It's going to take a while to get there, I think, because
Make
it
a
is
decision already.
it is a big pivotal shift, mindset shift, right? Because and I love what you said, is that it drives more collaboration and a focus on the customer, and takes, you know, and creating solutions that really work for the customer. It's not all about pushing because you need to make a number.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like in sales culture too, I think we have a problem with attribution error. And what I mean by that is, like, if we have a win, I'm going to steal something from Larry right now. If we have a win, we'll all be like, I would like to thank me and me and me. Oh, and me.
Yes.
But in reality, you know, do you
It takes
ever
a
really
village.
do you ever really win an account on your own? I mean, I don't think so. Like, you need your customer service rep, you need your technical people, you need your marketing group. Like, it's a joint effort to get there. So that's, I mean, I think that's what you've raised, Heidi, is a great example of a system or like a mindset that we've always had in sales for a long time that's influencing our culture. And everybody has, and companies can change that system.
Right. And, you know, and like everyone said here, that the people, you know, all of us on the call, everyone, you know, the audience, the people, we have to change. And sometimes, you know, and the reason we need leadership is because sometimes the people don't change, right? And you're committed to the targets that you set for the company because you're at the top setting them. But you have, I mean, you have someone, you know, like recently it was someone on Facebook that was saying horrible things about, you know, LGBTQ community. Okay, well, then it comes to find out that he's the leader of 3 people from that community on their team. So now what? You know, so yes, we have to own it, but for those bad actors, right? Then the leadership team has to inspect what they expect, as I say.
That's right.
I don't know, what salesperson do you know that manages just to their sales quota anyway?
You know, I don't know too many people that do. I mean, everyone I know is trying to stretch, right? And stretch it out, right? I do know, you know, hey, but I have met those guys out in the field where I'm, you know, they were supporting my customer at the, you know, the customer I'm responsible for at the local level, and they were just okay cruising. They were just okay. You know, I'm like, there's so many more opportunities that we haven't uncovered with this customer. I need you to execute here. And they were okay cruising, but they were the, you know, a lot, and more times than not, they were the guys that did have the more paid than their peers, and you know, those things. They were the guys who was given the top accounts, right? So you know, they were those people that was kind of hand fed the good business. But I think with changing the culture of sales, I want people to know, I think we need to talk about it more. I think that's what's going to change it. I want people to know that it is a great, exciting field. And no matter what field you're in, you're going to engage. I have my own business now, and I engage with people, you know, unfortunately, more often than I'd like to, that, you know, that are challenging, right? And that are still, you know, and so that's not going to change. But what can change is that you can change, how you deal with it. You can leave a company. I think sometimes we get too comfortable and we stay in companies for different reasons. I've stayed in a company because I wanted to mentor and I loved all the other things that I did for its extracurricular activity. And so you have to make a decision to leave the environment that you're in. And I think that's what I've been telling people. Don't be afraid to jump. Don't be afraid to leap. Don't be afraid to leave the environment that you're in. If you're in a culture because there are great cultures out there. There are great companies out there. There are great leaders out there, and you just have to go find the one that's for you. So, that's what I'm going to say. We need to talk about sales more. We need to let you guys know that, hey, we're in sales and we're having a dang good time. Okay. We're having fun. I was exhausted at the Safari Zoo yesterday, but we're having a dang good time. And we want you to know that sales is a fun environment, and you're going to meet some of the best people that that you maybe never would have met, and some of the best people in your lifetime and friends in your lifetime by being in a sales role. You agree, Larry?
Oh, definitely agreed. And this was awesome. I can't believe how quickly time flies.
Time is up, you
It's
guys.
an amazing
Time is
conversation. I want to let y'all know I'm just thankful that we're having this conversation. We're putting it out there. We're bringing awareness. We're sharing perspectives. And my biggest hope is that this talk, this great conversation, transfers and transitions into actions.
Yes, I hope so too. Any final thoughts, Heidi?
No, I just agree with Larry. I think we need to talk about it more, right? And bring awareness, and leaders need to own it, and take accountability for these things, and for creating a positive change, right? And creating the culture.
Yes. Lindsay, our
I'm gonna quote my friend Larry Long Jr. I hope this translates into action.
Yeah.
We hope this translates into action. And with that
Action.
said,
There we go, Larry. Get that bat.
Yes.
Get that bat. There you go.
It matches the shirt today. I'm color coordinated.
You
Color
are.
coordinated.
Translate
I love
into
it.
action.
Love it. Well, with that said, you guys have been listening to the Sales View. Our topic for today was, how do we change the culture in sales? And hope you guys had some great takeaways. I think we said we're going to go different round tables. So I'm Joyce Johnson.
I'm Larry Long Jr.
I'm Heidi.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this has been the Sales View.
What actions do we take to actually see different outcomes? That is the question.
Welcome to the Sales View. Thank you for joining us.